Hello everybody, my name is 1000 Ping. This is a game called Dagon. Let's get right into it. Dagon is a faithful interactive adaptation of H.P. Lovecraft's work, focused on story and atmosphere. You will not find difficult choices, actions, sequences, or inventory management here, and movement is limited to progressing through locations along with the plot.
I am writing this under
So
an
it's
appreciable
a simple
strain,
game.
since by tonight I shall be no more.
Can't even turn around here. During the game, you will encounter interactive elements. Some of them will allow you to continue your journey, others reveal interesting facts about the original short story. Its historical background and the author. Some of the trivia is hidden. In order to find these secrets, focus your eyes and look for the Elder Sign. So, yeah, okay, right click to zoom in. And, yeah, whatever these are at the top. Okay. Oh.
Penniless, and at the end of my supply of the drug which alone makes life endurable, I can bear the torture no longer, and shall cast myself from this garret window into the squalid street below. Do not think from my slavery to morphine that I am a weakling or a degenerate. When you have read these hastily scrawled pages, you may guess, though never fully realize, why it is that I must have forgetfulness or death.
Interesting.
It was in one of the most open and least frequented parts of the broad Pacific that the packet of which I was supercargo fell a victim to the German sea raider. The Great War was then at its very beginning, and the ocean forces of the Hun had not completely sunk to their later degradation.
Okay.
So that our vessel
Beautiful
was made
waters,
a legitimate prize, whilst we of her crew were treated with all the fairness and consideration due us as naval prisoners. So liberal, indeed, was the discipline of our captors, that 5 days after we were taken, I managed to escape alone in a small boat with water and provisions for a good length of time.
Chicken. It's not chicken.
When I finally found myself adrift and free, I had but little idea of my surroundings. Never a competent navigator, I could only guess vaguely by the sun and stars that I was somewhat south of the equator. Of the longitude, I knew nothing, and no island or coastline was in sight.
The moon. We're going to the moon.
The weather kept fair, and for uncounted days I drifted aimlessly beneath the scorching sun, waiting either for some passing ship,
Dude, whoever
or to be
this voice
cast on the
actor
shores
is,
of some habitable land.
mint, dude.
But neither ship nor land appeared, and I began to despair in my solitude
I don't
upon
like
the
this.
heaving vastness of unbroken blue. The change happened whilst I slept. Its details I shall never know, for my slumber, though troubled and dream-infested, was continuous.
Squid!
When at last I awoke, it was to discover myself half sucked into a slimy expanse of hellish black mire, which extended about me in monotonous undulations as far as I could see, and in which my boat lay grounded some distance away. Though one might well imagine that my first sensation would be of wonder at so prodigious and unexpected a transformation of scenery, I was in reality more horrified than astonished, for there was in the air and in the rotting soil a sinister quality which chilled me to the very core. The region was putrid with the carcasses of decaying fish, and of other, less describable things which I saw protruding from the nasty mud of the unending plain. Perhaps I should not hope to convey in mere words the unutterable hideousness that can dwell in absolute silence and barren immensity. There was nothing within hearing, and nothing in sight, save a vast reach of black slime. Yet the very completeness of the stillness and the homogeneity of the landscape oppressed me with a nauseating fear.
Wow, there's a lot to take in. I don't even know, like, how to explain what's happening. Well, I guess just keep going.
The sun was blazing down from a sky which seemed to me almost black in its cloudless cruelty, as though reflecting the inky marsh beneath my feet.
Ew.
As I crawled into the stranded boat, I realized that only one theory could explain my position. Through some unprecedented volcanic upheaval, a portion of the ocean floor must have been thrown to the surface, exposing regions for which innumerable millions of years had lain hidden under unfathomable watery depths.
What is that one? Is that just a tentacle? Like, these are obviously squid or octopus of sorts. But that one looks like a giant shrimp or something. Yeah, like, the hell even is that?
So great was the extent of the new land which had risen beneath me that I could not detect the faintest noise of the surging ocean, straining my ears as I might. Nor were there any seafowl to prey upon the dead things.
Fish.
For several hours I sat thinking or brooding in the boat, which lay upon its side and afforded a slight shade as the sun moved across the heavens.
So we're like on the ocean floor right now, and the water just went like, yeah, hell no.
As the day progressed, the ground lost some of its stickiness and seemed likely to dry sufficiently for traveling purposes in a short time. That night I slept but little, and the next day I made for myself a pack containing food and water, preparatory to an overland journey in search of the vanished sea and possible rescue. On the third morning, I found the soil dry enough to walk upon with ease.
Remember the game September 1999 that I did a few days ago? It's like that, but on like a much larger scale. I like it. It's simple, just a story, like an interactive story. There's not much game to it. It's good, just no game.
The odor of the fish was maddening, but I was too much concerned with graver things to mind so slight an evil, and set out boldly for an unknown goal.
I suppose it did say interactive game when I opened it, so. Or interactive
All day
story.
I forged steadily westward, guided by a faraway hummock which rose higher than any other elevation on the rolling desert.
Now, can we take a second? What are these? Clearly claws of some sort. What sea creature at the bottom of the ocean has claws like this? Like, not crabs, not lobster. What the hell? A whale, okay. Like, that looks more like a spider leg to me. And there's more tentacles. Yeah, what the fuck?
That night, I encamped, and on the following day still travelled toward the hummock, though that object seemed scarcely nearer than when I had first espied it.
Yeah, and like, the graphics are wildly good for such a simple game. Like, they did not have to go all out. But they did anyway. Like, holy hell. You can tell that there's time and
By the
love
fourth
into this
evening,
game.
I attained the base of the mound, which turned out to be much higher than it had appeared from a distance. An intervening valley setting it out in sharper relief from the general surface. Too weary to ascend, I slept in the shadow of the hill.
Smart move.
I know not why my dreams were so wild that night,
Oh, I know. Because what the fuck?
but ere the waning and fantastically gibbous moon had risen far above the eastern plain,
We're no longer a water planet.
I was awake in a cold perspiration, determined to sleep no more. Such visions as I had experienced were too much for me to endure again, and in the glow of the moon I saw how unwise I had been to travel by day.
Yeah, typically, like, in deserts, I know this isn't a desert, but it's a desert-like environment. Like, just watered down. In deserts, you want to travel at night, so you don't die from heat exhaustion and dehydration. And obviously, there's no sand dunes here because it's all wet. And the wind won't pick it up.
Without the glare of the parching sun, my journey would have cost me less energy. Indeed, I now felt quite able to perform the ascent which had deterred me at sunset. Picking up my pack, I started for the crest of the eminence.
What? You have to zoom in now? There's no... Oh.
I have said that the unbroken monotony of the rolling plain was a source of vague horror to me. But I think my horror was greater when I gained the summit of the mound and looked down the other side into an immeasurable pit or canyon, whose black recesses the moon had not yet soared high enough to illumine. I felt myself on the edge of the world, peering over
Might as
the
well
rim
be.
into a fathomless chaos of eternal night. Through my terror ran curious reminiscences of Paradise Lost and of Satan's hideous climb through the unfashioned realms of darkness. As the moon climbed higher in the sky, I began to see that the slopes of the valley were not quite so perpendicular as I had imagined.
Oh, hell no, bro. Come on.
Ledges and outcroppings of rock
Oh,
afforded
fuck.
fairly easy footholds for a descent,
Nah, you're dead, bro.
whilst after a drop of only a few hundred feet, the declivity became very gradual.
You want me to jump down there without breaking my legs?
Urged on by an impulse which I cannot definitely analyze, I scrambled with difficulty down the rocks and stood on the gentler slope beneath, gazing into the Stygian deeps, where no light had yet penetrated. All at once, my attention was captured by a vast and singular object on the opposite slope, which rose steeply about 100 yards ahead of me, an object that gleamed whitely in the newly bestowed rays of the ascending moon. That it was merely a gigantic piece of stone, I soon assured myself. But I was conscious of a distinct impression that its contour and position were not altogether the work of nature. A closer scrutiny filled me with sensations I cannot express. For despite its enormous magnitude, and its position in an abyss which had yawned at the bottom of the sea since the world was young, I perceived beyond a doubt that the strange object was
Bermuda
a well-shaped
Triangle?
monolith, whose
Is this at the
massive
bottom
bulk
of the
had known the
Bermuda Triangle?
workmanship and perhaps the worship of living and thinking creatures. Dazed and frightened, yet not without a certain thrill of the scientist's or archaeologist's delight, I examined my surroundings more closely. now near the zenith, shone weirdly and vividly above the
Well-
towering steeps that hemmed in the chasm, and revealed the fact that a far-flung body of water flowed at the bottom, winding out of sight in both directions and almost lapping my feet as I stood on the slope. Across the chasm, the wavelets washed the base of the Cyclopean monolith, on whose surface I could now trace both inscriptions and crude sculptures.
I'm not climbing that.
The writing was in a system of hieroglyphics unknown to me and unlike anything I'd ever seen in books, consisting for the most part of conventionalized aquatic symbols such as fishes, eels, octopi, crustaceans, mollusks, whales, and the like.
Turtle. Great artwork. Fantastic.
Several characters obviously represented marine
Whoa.
things which are unknown to the modern world.
Oh, this thing at the center there is like the little picture for the game.
But whose decomposing
Oh, thumbnail.
forms I had observed on the ocean-risen plain. It was the pictorial carving, however, that did most to hold me spellbound.
Ooh, okay, let's do that one. Storytelling methods. Dagon contains many themes and storytelling methods that Lovecraft developed in his later work, such as telling the story through carvings at the Mountains of Madness, the Nameless City, journals, and cigarettes. What? The character's note, the shadow out of time, the haunter of the dark, islands emerging from the ocean, call of Cthulhu, pretty sure that's in Moana, or fictional beings and deities based on real events and mythologies. Me go in the Whisper in Darkness. It's also considered the origin of the popular Cthulhu mythos. Some of Lovecraft's other stories also conclude in a manner similar to Dagon, but let's skip the details in order to not spoil the ending. Gotcha. You can read the discovered trivia immediately or go back to them later in the main menu. Turn off displaying trivia if you find that the feature distracts you from the story. This can be changed at any time in the options. Show trivia upon finding them. I will keep that on. I like that, I think.
Plainly visible across the intervening water, on account of their enormous size, were an array of bas-reliefs whose subjects would have excited the envy of a Doré. I think that these things were supposed to depict men, at least a certain sort of men, though the creatures were shown disporting like fishes in the waters of some marine grotto,
Mermaid. Merman.
or paying homage at
Mermen.
some monolithic shrine which appeared to be under the
Merwoman.
waves as well. Of their faces
What does
and
mer
forms
even
I dare
mean?
not speak in detail,
Sorry, I'm interrupting
for
the
the
story.
mere remembrance makes me grow faint. Grotesque beyond the imagination of a Poe or a Bulwer. They were damnably human in general outline, despite webbed hands and feet, shockingly wide and flabby lips, glassy, bulging
Excuse
eyes,
me?
and other features less pleasant to recall.
Flabby lips. It's a little rude.
Curiously enough, they seem to have been chiseled badly out of proportion with their scenic background.
God, just flame this
For
guy.
one of the creatures was
Jesus.
shown in the act of killing a whale, represented as but little larger than himself.
Huh?
I remarked, as I say, their grotesqueness and strange size, but in a moment decided that they were merely the imaginary gods of some primitive fishing or seafaring tribe. Some tribe whose last descendant had perished eras before the first ancestor of the Piltdown or Neanderthal man was born. Awestruck at this unexpected glimpse into a past beyond the conception of the most daring anthropologist, I stood musing whilst the moon cast queer reflections on the silent channel before me,
Oh, I gotta pee.
Then, suddenly, I saw it. With only a slight churning to mark its rise to the surface, the thing slid into view above the dark waters.
Sea monkey!
It darted like a stupendous monster of nightmares to the marlin, about which it flung its gigantic scaly arms, the while it bowed its hideous head and gave vent to certain measured sounds.
Okay.
I think I went mad.
Didn't even
then.
think it was that deep. The water. But I guess it was.
Of my frantic ascent of the sloping cliff and of my delirious journey back to the stranded boat, I remember little.
Yeah, let's climb out of this hole now. I told you that was a bad idea.
I believe I sang a great deal and laughed oddly when I was unable to sing. I have indistinct recollections of a great storm sometime after I reached the boat.
Or is it?
At any rate, I know that I heard pearls of thunder and other tones which nature utters only in her wildest moods.
And I pass out.
When I came out of the shadows, I was in the San Francisco hospital,
It was all in my head.
brought thither by the captain of the American ship which had picked up my boat in mid-ocean. In my delirium, I had said much, but found that my words had been given scant attention. Of any land upheaval in the Pacific, my rescuers knew nothing, nor did I deem it necessary to insist upon a thing which I knew they could not believe. Once I
Must still be
sought out a
imagining things,
celebrated
'cause how that door
ethnologist
moved.
and amused him with peculiar questions regarding the ancient Philistine legend of Dagon, the fish god.
I have a feeling this video file is going to be corrupted. Because my OBS system is having a real hard time displaying volume and the little gauges there. But whatever. Dagon, in parentheses, Dagon, was the main deity of the Philistines. Worshipped throughout the Middle East and the ancient god of fertility and crops. In Hebrew, the word Dagon was a common noun for grain. The rulers of Akkad, Mesopotamia, chose him as the patron saint of their war conquests. Hell yeah. He also appeared as the judge of the dead in an Assyrian poem. There we go, Assyrian, yeah. Words. And an underworld prison warder in one of the Babylonian texts. Babylonian. I don't know. He is often mistakenly taken for a fish god due to the wrong interpretations of his name, as in Hebrew, the word dag means fish. In H.P. Lovecraft's work, Dagon is an underwater deity ruling over the deep ones, a humanoid race with fish traits that resides in the oceans. He is worshipped by a secret cult called the Esoteric Order of Dagon. Okay. Now what? There we go. Over there. Walk up. Over there.
But soon perceiving that he was hopelessly conventional, I did not press my inquiries.
August. Derleth. was an American writer and an anthropologist. He also befriended Lovecraft and published many of his works throughout his company, Arkham House. Although he greatly contributed to the popularization of the author's works after his death, he is surrounded by numerous controversies. One of his most questionable decisions involved in introducing the good versus evil doctrine. Let me move my mouse. Derleth was a devout Catholic to the Cthulhu mythos, which contrasted with Lovecraft's view of the world and his approach to cosmic horror. As a result, the author's works are often misunderstood, and misrepresented in today's culture. It is also worth noting that Lovecraft was never really interested in creating a mythology, and the term Cthulhu mythos was coined by Dareth after the author left the moral plane. Holy hell, I am stupid and read at a 4th grade reading level. That's alright. I grew up on radio, so I know words, I just don't know what they look like written. It's not alright. Let's get back to the story. What am I looking for? Why did I come over here just to go over there? Come on. Come on. I know I'm dumb, but I'm not stupid.
It is at night, especially when the moon is gibbous and waning, that I see
Gibbous.
the thing.
I'm naming my
I
firstborn
tried
that.
morphine, but the drug has given only transient surcease and has drawn me into its clutches as a hopeless slave. So now I am to end it all.
Try opioids.
Having written a full account
I've heard
for
they're
the
really good.
information or the contemptuous amusement of my fellow men.
Or heroin.
Often, I ask myself if it could not all have been a pure phantasm, a mere freak of fever as I lay sun-stricken and raving in the open boat after my escape from the German man of war.
It's always the Germans.
This, I ask myself.
I don't know like the
before me
history of
a
this.
hideously vivid vision in reply.
So
I cannot think of the deep sea without shuddering at the nameless things that may at this very moment be crawling and floundering on its slimy bed, worshipping their ancient stone idols and carving their own detestable likenesses on submarine obelisks of water-soaked granite.
is that Godzilla?
I dream of a day when they
feel like that's
rise
Godzilla.
above the billows to drag down into their reeking talons the remnants of puny, war-exhausted mankind. Of a day when the land shall sink and the dark ocean shall ascend amidst universal pandemonium.
Ah, Godzilla. New York. Godzilla in New York. Wait a minute. This ain't the New York skyline.
The end is near.
The end is nigh. Oh. Am I a New Yorker? Am I obviously $20,000 New York apartment?
I hear a noise at the door, as of some immense slippery body lumbering against it. It shall not.
I'm not gonna
follow me.
go to it. Oh, well, it's coming to me.
God, that hand!
You're schizophrenic. You're imagining things.
The window! The window!
To the window. To the wow. Just committed suicide over hallucination. Well, that's it. That's the game. We hope you enjoyed immersing yourself in our little pool of cosmic horror. We would appreciate if you took a moment to rate Dagon and check out our other games and DLCs. Why don't you guys go do that? Go check out Cthulhu's Bedtime Stories and Nocturnes Pretty sure that's supposed to, I don't know. Nocturnes, sure. And then there's a DLC for Dagon. I would play this first. Before you get the DLC, obviously. But yeah, go check out the other two. I might do a video on the other two, actually. So yeah, let me know if you want that. I'm 1000 ping. Leave a like. Subscribe if you'd like. See you guys later.